Do you enjoy reading? Do you enjoy reading short stories? Do you enjoy reading scary stories? Then I have just the thing for you. Stories of the Bizarre and Terrifying Omnibus 1. A complete collection of all of my short stories so far in one handy little collection. It also comes with a handful of neat little extras, including a glossary of all the creatures and forces I've created over the years, author's notes providing insight into my creative process and inspirations, and even 2 all-new short stories that function as proof of concepts for 2 ideas I've had for much bigger works. If you're at all interested, feel free to check out the links in the description. It's available in both ebook, paperback, and for the first time ever, hardcover. The Armored Core series has always been one of those games. The type you see, go, at, consider giving a go before then looking away and grabbing something else. I can remember seeing copies of Armored Core in my local video shops as far back as when I was a kid, through to high school, but I just never bothered giving them a go. But after falling in love with the Soulsborne games and finding out they were made by the same developer, I have to admit I was hyped for the 6th mainline entry, Fires of Rubicon. But I wanted to maintain the allure of mystery, so I did the same thing I did with Mortal Kombat 1. I deliberately limited any exposure to any preview footage or trailers of the game in order to go in as blind as possible to really let it surprise me. And it did, in so many different ways. Thanks to staying away from the previews, it really was the gameplay that stuck out to me the most. If you're expecting something as methodical as the Soulsbornes, then you are in for disappointment. Fast-paced, high-octane action rules the roost in this game. At its core, Fires of Rubicon is just a simple, bog-standard third-person shooter that's been ripped out of the brief period in the 2000s before Gears of War introduced health-restoring cover. Instead of cover, gameplay is defined by your core's build, player reaction time, and strategy, creating a gameplay experience that not only is balls of fun, but is addictive and enjoyable to keep playing again and again. Around that simple gameplay, there's a lot of great ideas that make it into something that's got a lot of depth to it, such as your boost meter. This allows for rapid traversal and dodging. Your fuel for this though is an important gameplay resource, and depending on your build, rationing it can be key for getting an edge in combat that can spell victory or crushing defeat. Exhausting it will leave you open to attack, leaving you not only at the mercy of enemies, but another mechanic that applies to both the player and to your foes. The overload mechanic. This is based on how much stress an attack's target is under before it's forced into a brief shutdown, and if overloaded, then you're going to not only be vulnerable, but also suffer extra damage in that brief window before you try to get out of dodge. Strategizing and customizing your core's build around these mechanics is something that really gets the player thinking, both in the thick of the action and when weighing which parts to use for building your core in the customization menu. However, it does need to be said that the gameplay does come with one bugbear, and that's that the action brings a lot of visual noise with it. When things really get good is also when the visuals become a messy blur of particle effects and colours. When this happens, and it is frequent, you will struggle to concentrate and will lose track of everything in the chaos. The most common things you will lose track of is your enemy, but it's not the only thing. UI indicators will also get lost in all of the visual noise, robbing you of information you need to see, like the warning light for a missile attack. You'll hear it, but you won't see it until it's too late. Or the overload meter. You won't be able to see it, but you will see its effect when your core seizes up, letting the enemy get a few easy shots in and probably even costing you the mission. Unfortunately, this is something that you just cannot avoid while playing this game and enjoying the still addictive and fun gameplay, but it does also suck that you just can't avoid it. Now, as for the missions, They have a great deal of diversity in not only objective, but also with what you can do. They've got lots of fantastic story missions that throw different challenges at the player with minimal storytelling that doesn't get bogged down in vomiting narrative into your ears. One mission will have you taking down lesser enemies as you scale a cityscape to bring down anti-aircraft artillery, then another is going to have you team up with corporate mercs to storm a stronghold at a dam, and another is going to have you dodging high-impact projectiles so you can then face off against two enemies that can be best described as brick shithouses on wheels. But keep in mind, that's only the story missions. We've got other stuff to do as well, including arena battles against AI opponents for perk unlocks, New Game Plus missions that let you see what would have happened if your character had sided with the rebels instead of the corporations, and there's also multiplayer. The only real problem with the missions is that they can be too short. When the game is just so fun, you can't help but feel robbed when the mission is over after just 7 minutes and you're left wanting more and starved for it. The most infamous one of these is where you have to kill a student AC pilot. Even when you're still starting out, you can finish this mission in less than 5 minutes if you know what you're doing. But on the plus side though, this does mean that you can easily grind a good number of these missions, even the longer ones, to buy new parts without really selling off your older ones. But you will still wish the missions were longer, and the multiplayer, it being unavailable until you reach the last third of the story, yeah, that's annoying, and unfortunately, I can't touch on it because I wasn't able to unlock it during the time I was able to put into the game for this review. The maps are big and open, allowing the player a lot of maneuverability and tactical options for every core build. There's even a subtle hint of Elden Ring DNA with not only how open they can be, but also with how exploring them does reward the player with hidden core parts that won't be in the shop, giving an incentive to replay missions outside of just grinding. However, it is easy to get lost in the fun of the gameplay and accidentally do something stupid like dash into a piece of scenery, or forget how your weapons function and accidentally end up firing an attack, only to realize too late that it's just going to go straight into a wall. Trust me, your rockets are going to suffer from this the most. It also needs to be said that there's little in the way of map variety. That isn't to say there's no variety at all, because there is, and even when assets are being reused, you'll be having so much fun you won't even care half the time. It's rather that the maps lack aesthetic variety. Just about every map is some flavour of post-apocalypse industrial hellscape, like with snow, Mad Max, Soviet-era depression, factory, out in the ocean, and so on and so on. I know the game is set after a disaster called the Fires of Ibis, but I just wish there was more variety in the map settings, like an isolated village in the wilderness that's regressed to the social level of medieval Europe, or even a Blade Runner style neon city that survived the fires and is where all the corpo reps are overseeing their operations on the planet. Some things like that would have gone a long way to give the game some extra flavour.
Within half a year, she seized total control and greatly expanded their operations.
Now, core customization though was fan-friggin-tastic, and I would not change it. When figuring out your build, you're not only picking your weapons, but also the components of your core, and they all come with their own pros and cons, letting you create your dream mech. Do I go with the mantis legs for greater mobility at the drastic lack of health, but if I use that armor-plated torso, it'll make up for the health shortfall, but that puts me too close to being over the weight limit, so I'll need to change out my head or arms, but now my generator isn't powerful enough, so I need a new one to expand the power limit, but won't impact weight. And there are my thrusters. Are they good enough, or will they be dragged down by all that weight? And keep in mind, everything I suddenly just brought up are the surface level things. There's more in-depth stats and certain leg types that can, by default, change your build, making it feel like you're playing a completely different game at times. Those are the spider legs and the tank treads, and experimenting with the exploits those can unlock are just as much fun as role-playing as a Gundam pilot. But the fan-friggin-tastic quality of customization doesn't just end with how you prepare your build, it also extends to cosmetic customization, which can turn the game into everyone's favourite reality TV show, Pimp My Mech. You can pick primary colors, complementary colors, trim colors, metallic sheen types, and rust texturing, and it all looks good. This also applies, to an extent, to your weapons as well. So during my time with the game, my core always had a rusted gun in one hand and a hot pink Barbie playtime sword in the other. There's also a fantastic decal creation mode, and we get a lot of options with it, letting you showcase the real-life corporate sponsors of your genocide of the Rubicon Liberation Front. Personally though, I customized my core with the colours of the Australian flag, red, white and blue. I won't lie though, I did stuff up on the Union Jack, but the stars, ooh, they came out great. Really, you can lose yourself in playing with the decal creation system if you let yourself. It should also be said that all the people saying that this is a new Soulspawn are just wrong. This is a challenging game, not because it's not afraid to bust your balls when you let your guard down or make one misstep that can give even the weakest enemy the opportunity to tear you apart, but that's not the only way the game can challenge you. Some of the missions have you do more than just fighting. The crawler mission, for example, requires you to dodge cannon fire before then scaling an industrial centipede crawler the size of bloody mountains, turning the mission into a platforming challenge as you take out its generators, while making sure that you don't fall off before then facing off against the device that can obliterate you in one shot. But with that example being said, in some ways the game is a lot easier. The reason I say that is because there's a lot more exploits in this title, waiting for a keen or inquisitive mind to find the ones that can turn a challenge into a cakewalk, as well as the fact the game is just far more forgiving. Even when the game blindsides you with an ambush for the first time, it's still possible to come out on top, no worse for wear or by the skin of your teeth, and still be capable, reasonably speaking, of finishing the mission. Never mind that the game also has checkpoints that heal and resupply you, or that every time you die you can also adjust your core's loadout and build to try to make things a bit easier. This doesn't mean the game can't get frustrating like the Soulspawns or the Souls-likes, and there were times where I did stop playing because I got fed up with getting constantly killed, but there was never a point where it stopped being fun in more ways than one. When it's all said and done, those expecting another Soulspawn experience with Fires of Rubicon will be sorely disappointed. But those fans of the Soulspawns willing to give it a chance, including everyone else, will find one hell of a good game. One that not only respects the player's skill and reward them with slow but satisfying drip feeds of content, but also continues From Software's track record of showing up the big publishers. Play it and get ready for one hell of a good time.
I just wanted a call sign of my own.
Enemy AC destroyed. That's it for this job, 621. Return to base.
Alright, thank you very much for checking out my review. Hope you all enjoyed it. And if you really liked it, then by all means, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and help me out in the algorithm. Now, for the next game review, I'm planning to review the new Lords of the Fallen. Been really looking forward to this and can't wait to sink my teeth into where the Souls-likes all began. And I'm also planning to try to get out a horror game showcase in time for Halloween. I mean, it's Halloween, I gotta do something spooky. Anyway, I've got all that more coming up, so please stick around.